Hello everyone. Today we will explain a crime drama film Out of Sight. Spoiler alert, sit tight and enjoy the movie recap. Now let's start our daily recap dose. Movie starts with a scene where a small-time thief Jack Foley, clearly agitated, walks out of an office building, tears off his necktie, and throws it on the ground. He enters a nearby bank and spends some time looking around the lobby. He approaches the teller's window and illuminates the lady behind the counter that his assistant is sitting with her director and that in the event that she doesn't adhere to his guidelines, the man will shoot her chief. She is instructed by Foley to empty the cash drawer, leaving the bills at the bottom of the piles. After reassuring her that she is doing a good job and handing over the cash, Foley makes a brief stop to speak with the individual he has identified as his accomplice. Foley is unknown to the man. Foley tries to start his car outside the bank, but as he tries to get away, he overheats the engine. Foley is apprehended by a police officer with a gun drawn, and he surrenders without fighting. The story leaps to 2 years before when Foley is a detainee in Dell's remedial office in Florida. Playing b-ball with different prisoners, he investigates the horde of bygone-era lifers and apparently arrives at the resolution that he would rather not end up like them. He detects several individual detainees, Chino and Humdinger, running by. He tells them later that he knows they are planning an escape when he talks to them. Just beyond the point where they intend to emerge once they have tunneled out, a second security fence is being constructed. Foley informs them that he is going with them in exchange for their silence regarding the escape. A guard does learn about the plan, and Foley tells the guard to meet him that night in the prison chapel. Karen Cisco, a U.S. Marshal, has lunch in Miami with her father, who is also a retired Marshal. As a birthday present, he gives her a 6-hour pistol. He also asks her about a married marshal named Raina Collette she has been seeing. Karen tells her father to stop talking about it because he doesn't like it. She likewise lets him know that she needs to go to Meadows Restorative to circle back to a case. Karen enters Lade's. Buddy, Foley's longtime friend, also makes it to the prison parking lot in a stolen Cadillac. While Foley watches, Lulu and Chino have already begun their escape from the prison chapel. Foley tells the guard he told to come to the chapel when he arrives and tells him to keep an eye on the fence. Foley hits the guard with a large vase, knocking him out. Cisco alerts the tower guards when he sees the men emerging from their tunnel outside the fence. 2 men, one of whom is Chino, make it away, and 2 more are shot. In the guard uniform, Foley appears and informs the other guards that there are no escapees in the tunnel. Foley approaches Cisco, who employs a shotgun. Karen is distracted by Foley for long enough for Buddy to grab her from behind and throw her in the car trunk. Foley follows her as she enters. Buddy forces them to leave. Foley and Karen talk for a long time in the trunk, mostly about movies and prisoners. Buddy pulls under a highway overpass where they are to meet Glenn Michaels, another ex-convict who is waiting in a different car. Karen immediately fires with the pistol her father had given her when Foley emerged from the trunk. She is trapped inside after Foley manages to slam the trunk lid shut. They let her out when she vows to surrender herself. They bundle Glenn and Karen into the vehicle. Mate and Foley talk for a couple of moments about how to manage Karen. She is attracted to Foley, but Buddy doesn't think she feels the same way about him. Glenn and Karen suddenly leave in a car, leaving them both behind. Mate and Jack return to Miami and go to Amigo's loft. Foley unwinds by taking a warm bath. Karen shows up, weapon drawn, and tracks down Foley in the tub. When he suddenly opens his eyes to greet her, she briefly examines him before entering to arrest him. In a hospital bed, Karen wakes up with her father beside her. She asks him what she said, and he asks her what she was dreaming about. "Hey back," her father says. After briefly being unconscious, Karen tells Burden, her boss, what happened. Karen had convinced Glenn to leave Buddy and Foley behind in the car with him because she remembered Glenn from a previous prisoner transfer. Glenn had complied, but the 2 of them disagreed about which way to go. Karen had grabbed the wheel in an effort to coerce Glenn into taking an exit from the highway while they were both in a state of panic. Karen sustained a mild head injury inside the vehicle after the car spun out of control and collided with a water barrier. Burden, Karen's inexperienced boss, is somewhat perplexed. Jack finds a picture of Karen's father when he goes through Karen's purse at Buddy's house. Jack wants to see Karen one more time, despite Buddy's efforts to convince him that they need to leave town right away. They have a brief conversation when Jack calls her at home. Jack rejects her suggestion that he change his mind. Karen hears Buddy's voice when he suddenly starts talking in the background. Jack hangs up as their need to flee becomes even more pressing. A report about a raid on a squatter camp is shown on television. Lulu is one of the deceased. Jack is aware that Lulu might be connected to Chino. Jack had told Chino about Adele and where she lived while he was in prison. Additionally, Jack is aware that the U.S. Marshal's office will locate Adele quickly. Chino seems obsessed with the trick of sewing a woman in half and wants to learn the secret from Adele, who worked as a magician's assistant for several years. Chino enters Adele's apartment after finding it, but Karen arrives first and inquires about Jack's whereabouts. Adele's door is being pounded on by Chino. When Chino breaks in, Karen immediately arrests and cuffs him after getting Adele to stall. She asks Burton to join the task force looking for Buddy and Jack and calls him. Karen asks Burton if he will let her join the team if she brings Chino because Burton says no. Burton orders Karen to keep watch in the lobby of Buddy's apartment building as his team approaches Buddy's building. Buddy and Jack have already left the room and are taking the elevator to the parking garage. The lift stops at hall level and Karen gets a brief look at Jack, who sees her moreover. Jack and Buddy make it to the car and drive away. Jack and Buddy drive to Detroit with the intention of seeing Maurice Snoopy Miller, a fellow prisoner. Additionally, they intend to locate Richard Ripley, a wealthy businessman who had been imprisoned for embezzlement. He had talked to Glenn about a small fortune he had in uncut diamonds that he kept in his Detroit home while he was behind bars. However, Glenn did not conceal the information, and Snoopy also intends to defraud Ripley. Snoopy tells Glenn that he is taking over the operation of the heist while he is driving around Detroit in a limousine. Glenn initially resists, but Snoopy makes him feel quite intimidating. Glenn is also required to accompany them on a mission where they will kill a transvestite who is competing with Snoopy for drug dealing land. Glenn does this, and the job with Snoopy and his henchmen, one of whom is Glenn's brother-in-law Kenneth, turns out to be more violent and terrifying than he ever anticipated. He goes to the Kronk gym with Snoopy, where Jack and Buddy meet them. They all agree to discuss the plan to steal Ripley's fortune at a boxing match the following night. When Karen gets to Detroit, she talks with a friend about finding Jack. The specialist, Raymond Cruz, amidst tidying up the crime location left by Snoopy and Glenn prior in the day, tells her he'll get a location. Karen visits Snoopy's house and talks to Moselle, his sister. Moselle tells Karen that she hasn't seen Maurice in a while, but he might show up at the boxing matches at the State Theater the next night. Kenneth is in the house as well. He takes Moselle to the store and backs up her story. He tries to force himself on Karen after Moselle leaves, but Karen hits him with a small police baton and walks away. Karen points out to one of the businessmen that she is aware that he is married as she resists their advances at the hotel bar back at her hotel. Foley quietly appears, and the two of them share a drink. They have sex when they return to her room. Karen gets out of bed and starts to wonder why Foley was having sex with her. He guarantees her that he was not up for a one-nighter. He has left the 6-hour pistol he had taken from her in Florida by morning. The end. For part 2 of the film, like, share, and subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the upcoming recaps. And share your reviews on the movie and comment below.